Should you be charging hourly, flat fee, or package-based pricing if you are a beginner freelancer? If you are brand new to freelancing and you're wondering how the heck should I be pricing out my services and my projects that I do, I am going to make this really simple for you in today's training. If you are a beginner, you have exactly one goal that you should be focusing on, and that is building up your momentum and your credibility as fast as possible. The pricing model that you choose can either help you do that or sabotage your chances of success. So, if you are in these early stages and you're feeling overwhelmed or you're not sure what to charge, this video is going to be your shortcut. I'm going to help you avoid one of the most common beginner mistakes, which is guessing at how you should price your services and your packages when you don't yet have the data. Okay. If you are new to freelancing and you're interested in giving it a try, I can help you go from zero to paying clients in 10 days or less, even if you have no freelance experience. I have a free email course called 10 Days to Paid, and that is going to give you absolutely everything you need to get started on Upwork as a brand new freelancer, all the way from what should you charge, what services should you offer as a freelancer, how do you set up your profile, how do you create proposals, how do you land clients, deliver that work, and then get a raving five-star review. I give you literally everything from video trainings to written tutorials, tools, swipe files, AI prompts, everything. Nothing is paywalled, nothing is held back. You get it absolutely everything that you need to go from beginner to a paid freelancer who is starting to build that momentum and that credibility fast. I'll drop the link below if that's of interest to you. But if we haven't met yet, let me introduce myself. I'm Erica Knoll, and I am a top 1% freelancer on Upwork, which has more than 18 million freelancers. I replaced my six-figure salary from my old 8 to 5 job. I've since retired my husband, and we now travel full-time in an RV as digital nomads. I started exactly where you are right now. I never had freelanced before. I had no clients, no Upwork history, no testimonials, and I figured out through trial and error and quite a bit of pain on how to climb my way up to the point that I did to now be a top 1% freelancer and to be able to make this be my full-time job. And that is what I want to help others do as well, which is why I create these free weekly trainings as part of my free community on Substack. If you are not yet in that community, every Tuesday I create a free training, which also goes out in the world as podcasts and up on YouTube. So wherever you're finding me, just know that this is part of a weekly series that I do. And if you want these trainings to go directly to your inbox, all you need to do is click the link to join the free Substack community where these trainings happen each week. Okay. So with that, let's go ahead and let's jump in to the pricing strategy that I recommend for beginning freelancers, especially if you are getting started on Upwork. Okay. So the first recommendation I have for you as a beginning freelancer is that I want you to focus on starting with hourly work. Okay. If you're brand new, even if you're highly skilled, even if you know that you have enough talent and experience that you easily could be charging 50, 100, $200 an hour, even if you're brand new, your rate is one of the very few levers that you have that you can pull to try and land jobs on a pretty saturated network, right? Upwork is one of the largest networks out there for freelancing. It also has the most jobs. It's one of the easiest for you to have the volume of jobs that you need, but it can also make it very hard for you to cut through that noise when you're a beginner. And because you don't yet have, you have no reviews, you have no job history, you have no glowing testimonials. So your rate is one of the few things that you actually do have control over. And so we need to use that as leverage when you're a beginner. And one of the best ways to use that as leverage, and this isn't a long-term strategy, this is a beginner strategy, is that we are purposely going to price ourselves low. And beyond that, part of what I teach in 10 Days to Paid is we're even going to discount that rate further as you apply for jobs. So we're going to use this strategically as a lever to get you your first few jobs, but then I also teach you how to quickly walk that rate up, tripling, quadrupling, 5 times even what your beginning rate is within a matter of months. Okay. Your rate is a really powerful tool that will help you create interest and urgency with these beginner clients and also give them a reason to give you a chance, even when you don't have any of that established proof yet on your profile. Okay. As a beginner, you are pricing yourself not based on your skills, but on your position or status right now in the network. And right now, you are a brand new baby freelancer. And as a brand new baby freelancer, that means you're probably going to start with a rate that's more likely around $15 to $20 an hour, even if you know that you easily could be charging 50, 100 plus an hour, okay? But you're not going to stay there. We're going to walk it up. This is just the beginning point of where you're going to start. And then you're going to use that lower price point to help you get quick yeses from clients. We're going to remove any resistance, right, by giving them a reason to take a chance on you. And then we use this to start building up your job history. And so that way you can start earning those glowing 5-star reviews. All right. The second thing is that there is only one time that I would recommend that you are using flat fee or project-based proposals and jobs when you're a beginner. Okay. And I go into this in depth in 10 Days to Paid, but the high level version of this is that when you are first starting out, I walk you through and I show you what I consider to be beginner friendly freelance jobs. Okay. And these beginner friendly freelance jobs aren't necessarily going to be in the service area that you want to be. So even if you know that you want to do copywriting, even if you know you want to do website design, there is a very specific type of job or a bunch of different types of jobs that are very specifically entry level, very short and time limited, quick turnaround sort of jobs that most anyone can do. And I'm going to have you, part of what I teach you is to purposely apply for some of these jobs as your very first ones, because we're just trying to land a score on the board for you. Okay. We just want to get a completed job with a positive review that we're not going to worry about you trying to compete on day one with people that already are wildly established within the niche that you want to be in. So if you're trying to do copywriting and out the gate, you start applying to a bunch of copywriting jobs where you already have a lot of established copywriters that have tons of social proof. They've earned their badges. They have a lot of history in their earnings and the hours that they have logged. It's going to be very hard for you to compete with them, especially if you don't even have your first review yet. So I teach you to focus on these beginner friendly jobs for your first one or two, but these first rounds of proposals that you're sending out to land that first client or two, you may use flat fee pricing on them. And so these jobs can look like maybe doing a survey for something, testing out someone's app and giving feedback, doing a quick research project, like they want you to go find out, make a list of all the doctors in the city in an Excel spreadsheet, right? And many times these sorts of jobs are very small scope, limited sort of jobs that may only take an hour or two to complete. And a lot of times these clients will put them out as flat fee jobs. So it may only be 20 bucks or 50 bucks. That's the only time that I would recommend that you are going to lead with flat fee or project-based pricing as a beginner. Okay. So if you need to use that during your beginning stage to land your first few reviews and get things going, it makes sense to use flat fee. But everything else after that, as soon as you start getting your reviews on your profile and you get your foot in the door, then we move on and we're going to move into hourly pricing. Okay. Part of the reason for that, why I don't want you to stay in this flat fee area, is you don't have the experience yet. Even if you do this, let's say in your 9 to 5 job, right? You may have quite a bit of experience there to be able to estimate time and outcomes, but it's a different beast when you're working for yourself. There's a lot of pieces where a lot of times if you're doing it in your 9 to 5 job, you're handling one part of that process. You're not handling everything. When you're a freelancer, everything from client communication to handling every little detail from, the proposals to handing it off to final revisions. And so you need to put in the time and effort to really get good and be able to confidently estimate how much time exactly it takes for you to do things. And right now, as a beginner, you don't yet have that experience. And you specifically don't have it yet on Upwork working with clients, and you haven't specialized yet. So that is where a lot of freelancers lose money and lose it very fast, is they come out the gate trying to do these flat fee prices and they severely underestimate how much time it's going to take. And then they're locked in giving way more hours to projects with a very little return in income. And it's such a fast way to burn yourself out and for people to get frustrated or demoralized. And then they quit because they just assume there's no way this could replace my income. Like, I've spent so many hours on this and I only made 200 bucks, right? So that is part of why we are going to focus heavily on hourly so that you get paid for all of the time that you spend as a beginner doing the work while also collecting this really important data that then is going to inform later on how you can leverage flat fee and package pricing. All right. So after we land those first couple ones, which you may do some flat fee, but also some of them may be hourly, we are going to then shift into a strategy that I teach inside of 10 Days to Pay, which is we're going to shift into more niche specific beginner jobs. So now that you have landed a few good, successful reviews, maybe in something totally unrelated, right? Like doing a survey or doing research, it really doesn't matter because the main thing is it got you to the point that you now have a job success score, you now have reviews that are really positive on your profile, and many times those reviews are high level enough that for most people they're skimmers, they're looking through, they care that it's 5 stars, they care that they people said nice kind things about your work, and a lot of them aren't even really processing that that job wasn't necessarily specific to the niche that you're interested in working in. So you're going to start to transition into this niche specific work. And as you transition into this, I'm going to have you use my strategy, which is offering 2 hour paid trials with a money back guarantee. Now, inside the actual email course, I go really in depth with this. You'll have everything that you need from word tracks to swipe files, to exactly how this works. But basically, the idea is I want you to focus on fast turnaround, low risk, quick jobs that you can do that are hourly based. And what you're going to do is if that job is going to take you more than 2 hours to complete, rather than applying for the full scope of the job. So to make this more tangible, let's say I'll use copywriting again because that's where I started in Upwork. And so that's what I'm most familiar with. But let's say with copywriting, maybe someone wanted a welcome sequence written and it's going to be 6 emails long, right? Now, again, in your brain, especially if you have not done this at a high level many, many times, that you have a really concrete feeling of exactly how long it's going to take you to write every one of those emails. And then you have to factor in stuff like revisions and client communication, right? So unless you have a really, really good sense, it would be easy for you to maybe think like, yeah, I think I could get that done in 2 hours, right? And then you find out, no, actually, it's going to take you 10 hours, right? So instead, what I want you to do is if you don't know, if you're looking at something like that, being like, I feel like I could knock out a 6 email sequence in a few hours, right? That's a guess. That's not a knowing. And so because it's a guess, what I want you to do is I want you to lead with a 2 hour trial offer to say, so you're going to go through, and again, inside the program, I give you how to write the proposals to propose this. But basically, when you propose that job, rather than saying, I'm just applying for this full job and here's how long I think it will take, you're saying, here's what I'd like to propose is let's start with a 2 hour trial so that that way you can get a really good feel for, am I meeting the quality criteria you're looking for? Is it a good fit and a good match for us to work together? Plus, you get to see reasonably how much can I complete in an hour or two working on this job, right? And that is just as important for you as it is for them. So then that way, let's say it's the 6 email sequence. You spend your 2 hours and you find out in those 2 hours, I only got two and a half of the emails done. Perfect. Now you're able to much better estimate how much longer it's going to take you to finish up the rest of that sequence. And the client gets to make an educated decision at that point as far as whether or not they're willing to pay however many more hours it's going to take to complete the rest of that 6 email sequence. Okay. So we lead with the 2 hour trial. There's some other strategy reasons behind why we do this. And so one of them is equally for you is that I want you to have an easy out because sometimes, especially with lower price beginner jobs, there are clients that are not good fit clients, both for long-term work and even in the immediate work. And what is most important to you as a beginner is protecting your reputation. And what I mean by protecting your reputation is the scores that clients give you on these contracts, both publicly, so your star ratings and what they write, but also privately. So Upwork will ask them to rate you 0 to 10. How likely are they to refer you to someone else who needs the same sort of work? And that score that they give you directly impacts your job success score. Your job success score very much impacts your open rates on whether or not people are looking at your proposals and taking you seriously as an option to hire. And so we need to be so defensive proactively on protecting those scores, both publicly and privately. So, by offering the money back guarantee and limiting it to 2 hours, this allows you that if you do end up in a situation with a client where you realize that this is just not a good fit, and that can look a lot of different ways. That could look like a client that no matter what you're doing, they're not happy and they keep asking for revision after revision after revision, and you're just not meeting the criteria and you're realizing that like no matter what you do that this is probably not going to turn out well, you're starting to worry about whether or not you're going to get a good review. This allows you to leverage that money back guarantee at any time. So that at that point you can say like, listen, I think that maybe I'm not the best fit for this project for you and I want you to get exactly what you want. So I'm going to go ahead and give you that money back guarantee that I promised you, when we first talked about it. And then what you're doing here, and again, I go way more into depth in here. There's some more advanced strategies on how we can protect your reputation even further inside the course. But basically, what you're going to do at that point is you will either not log those hours or you'll refund them if you had already charged them or logged them on the contract. And then we just don't close out that contract. We let it sit. But even if the client does close it out, even if it does get to the point that they are going to leave feedback on that contract, they're now going to be much less likely to leave you a negative review, even if the experience wasn't what they wanted, because you were super transparent throughout the process. They lost a minimal amount of time because it was only 2 hours. And they're not out any money for it, right? You built a lot of goodwill through that process that person is going to be so much less likely to leave you negative marks. Or even if they do score you down, it will be so little in comparison to what it would have been had they had to pay you for work that they didn't like, and on top of it, have it be a relationship that wasn't going to turn into a long-term relationship. So that's part of why we do it, is it helps you set expectations and those boundaries up front. It's going to give the client a real taste of your work, what they can expect, what it's like working with you, and find out if it's a good fit. And that's on both sides, for you and for them. It also helps protect your profile from bad reviews, right? And it creates you a really easy path to get frequent 5-star ratings quickly, which is a big goal when you're a beginner. We want to gather as much social proof on your profile as we can, as quickly as possible. So many times what you can do with these 2-hour trials, especially if you're communicating transparently up front to these clients that you're new, you're building your profile, you're trying to earn 5-star reviews. And again, all these swipe files, they're all inside of the course. But as you go through that, that allows you then to be able to remind them at the end to be like, hey, just as a reminder, I'm building out my profile and trying to collect positive reviews. Do you mind if we close out this 2-hour trial contract for you to leave a review on the trial, and let's open up a new one to finish up the rest of the job? So now you've taken that one job that again is a small scope job, so it's not going to take you a lot of time. You're going to be focusing on jobs that you can complete in days, not weeks. And so now you take this, what was a small scope job already, and now you've turned it into 2 contracts with 2 positive reviews, right? And so it's just that 2-hour strategy, the 2-hour trial with the money back guarantee, is one of the fastest ways that you can start to build that momentum and that credibility on your profile. So the next reason that I recommend that you focus on hourly is that when you charge hourly, this is going to help you build confidence for yourself, but it also is going to start building proof for all of your future clients. So as a beginner, like I mentioned before, you don't know how long stuff takes right now, right? You're still trying to figure out how long stuff is going to take. And as a beginner, this is your best time for you to begin to experiment and to figure out what you even like to do, right? And so part of what I teach is I have you start broad on purpose. So even if you know that you think you want to do copywriting, you may not know yet. You might have an idea. You might think that you like writing blog posts. You might think that you like the idea of writing websites, right? But until you actually get in it, until you actually start doing that work, and this is what I found for myself as well in doing this, is that a lot of times where you think you went ahead, you'll end up being surprised and you'll end up somewhere totally different. Okay. So I started in copywriting. As I started to specialize, where I landed was sales copywriting, which was not where I expected I was going to be. I thought I was just going to do blog and SEO copywriting, and I got bored with that. Ended up in sales copywriting, enjoyed that a lot more. But then as I continued to specialize and then continued to experiment, and that again came from just applying to a wide variety of jobs, working with a wide variety of different types of clients and industries, I eventually landed on realizing that I really liked working with female coaches. And then through that process with those female coaches, these were people that were doing courses and memberships and different digital products. And so a lot of them needed funnels built, sales pages built. So that included their email sequences. So it included things like landing pages for their opt-ins, one-time offers in an email funnel, or a sales page funnel, right? And so my copywriting became incredibly specialized over time. I had a very specific type of customer I liked working with. I had a very specific type of copywriting I was doing, right? And so when you're a beginner right now, you aren't yet that specialized and you still don't even know where it's going to go. So this is your time to be applying to a broad range of jobs, a broad range of industries, a broad range of types of clients so that you can start to figure out, what do you really enjoy doing? What could you spend all day doing? What sort of things are fun for you, right? And so until you specialize, you don't have enough data yet because you're not doing a large bulk of jobs repetitively of the same type for you to start to get a really concrete feel for, it takes me an hour from start to finish and everything that's included in it to write one email for a client, right? You can make a guess on it, but you don't confidently know that yet, right? So we need you to be able to confidently know it. So when you start trying to guess on flat fee jobs or trying to package up your services, if you guess it too low, you're going to be leaving money on the table, right? And you're on a quick path to burnout because, like I said, you're going to get really frustrated that you're having to spend so much more time on something because you underestimated how many hours it was going to take you. But also, if you guess it too high, then you're going to struggle to land these jobs, especially when you don't yet have that social proof on your profile. Okay. So that is why we're going to continue to focus on hourly. So, hourly work is what is going to give you that real world experience. And then here's an example of what that looks like. So, as I mentioned before, copywriting, right? And I just walked you through my path of how I ended up ultimately specializing with female coaches and helping them with their funnels. So, a good example of that would be, again, if I were going to now be ready to flat fee or project base my work, I now have enough data. I've done this long enough now that I can confidently price that out. And so here's an example of what that might look like. So my female coaches that I work with building out funnels, almost all of them use an email system called Flowdesk. And if you haven't been following along on my path or you don't know enough about my story, while I started in copywriting, I've since expanded. I've taken my business off of the Upwork platform. I still freelance, but I just do it directly with clients. And so I have a number of coaching clients I work with. And with them, I now am what's called an online business architect. So I have an extensive operations experience back from my old 8 to 5 jobs. And once I realized that I could actually use that on online business, when I first started, I didn't know how to leverage that. I now marry my copywriting experience with my operations experience, and I come in and I actually help with the strategy, building out the systems, the automations, and handling basically the entire back end for whatever a client needs to be built. So that is another advanced strategy that again we'll talk more on later in a future training about stacking your skills, because the more you can stack on skills, the more hard it makes for other people to compete with you. You also can charge more premium rates. So as I went through my own journey on growing as a freelancer, I started stacking those skills and I became an online business architect. So as an online business architect who works with these female coaches, almost all of them use a software system called Flowdesk to build out their email automations and email campaigns. In the world of online business, when it comes to these coaches and these memberships, it's very frequent for them to have email funnels that run behind the scenes. So you buy a product and you get a delivery email from them, and maybe they're welcoming you into their program. They're doing some onboarding. After the onboarding, they might move you into what's called a nurture sequence. And the nurture sequence is a chance to start to introduce you to them, to their story, to what their programs are, to what sort of results they get, maybe giving you free gifts, right? And so they go through this nurture sequence. When they get done with the nurture sequence, sometimes they go into an upsell or a downsell sequence, right? And it becomes this very predictable sort of thing that even though every coach is different in what they're offering, even though their actual programs and offers, their tone, their style, all of that may be different, underneath it at a structure level, almost all of them are going to have email sequences, and almost all of them use Flowdesk as their email system. So this allows me then to, as I'm doing this in high volume, I'm now starting to be able to systemize what I offer. And through systemizing what I offer, that means I come up with AI prompts that I use in order to help me plan out and strategize how I'm going to do the emails. I have a good general template or workflow of what a typical nurture sequence might look like, or what a typical upsell sequence might look like, right? Now, we're going to keep it flexible for the client because we want to personalize it to them. But there's a lot of basic foundational work that once you've done it at a high enough volume, you have a foundation to work from. And then you're coming in and you're personalizing it to the client. On top of that, Upwork allows me to take any automation or workflow that I build and turn it into a template that I can then install on my other clients' systems and their accounts, right? So now this allows me, because I've done it enough with enough clients and frequently enough, that I know exactly how long it takes me to write an email. I know how long it takes me to design and load that email into Flowdesk. I know how long it takes me to set up tagging, segments, automations. I know how long typically revisions are going to take me, ranging from clients who want no revisions to the clients who want a million revisions. So I can start to estimate that. I know how much client communication typically happens during that process. And so then what that allows me to do is to look at something that I can package up and say, okay, I want to offer a 5 email nurture sequence, right? At X amount of dollars. So how do we come up with X amount of dollars? Well, what I do is I look at, because now I have firm data and numbers from real life experience that I've done at a high volume with a lot of clients, that I know, okay, I can build that 5 email sequence from the strategy to the copywriting to designing it to the automations to testing it to doing revisions, entire thing. That will take me roughly 10 hours, right? And so then now I know that that 5 email sequence will take me 10 hours. Now all I've got to do is pop in what I want to get paid. So if I want to get paid $200 an hour to do that, I know that I need to charge $2,000 for my 5 email nurture sequence, right? So as a beginner, do you see how you don't yet have enough data, but how over time, as you specialize, you will get to the point that you will 100% have all of that data that you need in order to make those decisions? Okay. So I don't want you to package up your services until you have done the same type of job many times over and you have already started to specialize within your niche. Okay. I also need you to be able to confidently estimate exactly how much time it takes you to deliver and to have enough knowledge of all the different aspects that might take time. So you just heard me mention a second ago as I listed that out, to where it's one thing to say it's 5 emails, right? But there's actually so much more than that. It might include the designing and loading time. It might include testing. It might include doing the revisions, the client communication. And so you're only going to know that over time, doing it multiple times, what are all the different inputs that you need to consider, because it's very easy to underestimate there, where our brains just quickly go, writing 5 emails, that should take me 5 hours, right? And it's like, and then you realize, wait, no, I'm not factoring in all these other things. So you need to be able to confidently estimate for every aspect of the job, which again only comes with experience of doing it over and over. Another sign that you know when it's time to start flat fee or packaging up your offers are once you have built repeatable systems so that you can standardize that process, so that you can make it predictable and repeatable. So sometimes, even if you are super established in what you do, even if you do have a lot of experience, If it is the sort of task or job that varies so widely from customer to customer that maybe you're doing website design, right? And so let's say one website customer might take you 20 hours for like a simple little website, and you might have another customer that takes you 3 months to complete, right? Wildly different. So until you can start to come up with a way that you can standardize a package, right? And so you get to define what that package looks like. So maybe you say, I'll do a 5-page website. Here's what's included on those 5 pages, right? Putting a word limit on how many words are going to happen. What's the scope of it? Are you going to do images or not? Are you going to write their copy or not? Right. So you need to do this enough that you can start to take something that might be wildly different from client A to client B and start to standardize it so that you know if I do a 5-page site within these parameters, this is how long it takes me, right? And so until you can get to that point, until your offer is something that you can standardize and you make it very predictable, if it's not that, then you shouldn't be flat fee or package pricing it. Okay. The whole point of flat fee and package pricing is that you're going to get paid at least the equivalent of what you would have gotten paid hourly. And the goal is that later on, if you can find efficiencies and make that process better, then you might be able to deliver it faster, right? That's why we want to standardize it and make it predictable. Then that savings becomes extra money in your pocket, right? Because then if you can take a job that originally you confidently thought took 10 hours, but as you start to find efficiencies, you can get that down to 7. Well, now your effective hourly rate just went up, right? You're getting paid for extra hours of work that you budgeted because a client is happy to pay that flat fee, but you now are able to deliver it more efficiently than you could before. All right. Otherwise, you're just guessing, and guessing is going to lead you to quick burnout. All right. And then finally, the another reason why I want you to focus on hourly rates as a beginner is because this is going to start to build visible compounding social proof for you, which is arguably probably one of the most important things that you need as a beginner freelancer. So social proof is a make or break aspect. Basically, it's the difference between you and your profile telling people, "Hey, I'm really great at this thing." And you can throw out numbers, you can tell them as much as you want how great you are, but that is different from other people telling them how great you are. And for you proving it to them. And the best way that you can prove it to them is through all of those different social proof and trust signals that I talked about earlier. That could be your job success score. That could be reviews on your profile. That could be the rate that you charge. Okay. And that is part of what we're going to talk about here. So platforms like Upwork have it already built in. It's already baked in. You can earn badges, success badges that they give you, right? They give you the score. And the way how the profile is set up is that when they go into your profile, it shows your entire job history. And so what I want you to think about is, and I think this would help make it more tangible for you. So I want to think about how you behave as a consumer. Okay. So when you are making a buying decision on something, I want you to think about how frequently we like to use online reviews, right? And when you look at online reviews, we use that. That is social proof. That is other people rather than the company saying, "Hey, this is an amazing product." We're actually looking at other people. It could be reviews. It could be when you're on social media, the way how you go to comments to look to see if anyone's saying like, "Yes, I use this. It works great," right? Because we value other people's experiences to tell us whether or not it's true. All right. So by using hourly, you might be wondering, like, how does hourly turn into being social proof? Well, one of the main ways how this works is, again, just like Google search reviews. So let's say that you are shopping for a computer. All right. And maybe you're shopping for a computer, you're going online, you're looking at the reviews, the ratings, you're looking at the comments people are leaving. And maybe you're trying to find a computer that's $500 or less. So you're looking at your best options, you find some you like, but you get into the reviews and you realize they've got like a 3.5 with a ton of 1 and 2 star reviews. You start looking through those 1 and 2 star reviews, you start seeing stuff that's saying like, they're not honoring the warranty. I can't get in contact with anyone from customer service. I had this thing for a week and it gave me the blue screen of death, right? So now, as you're getting that feedback, you're feeling a lot less cautious. Even though it's meeting the price point that you want, you probably don't feel great about spending your $500 on that computer, right? Meanwhile, you see another computer come up in the search. This computer's $800, but it has nearly a 5-star rating with thousands of reviews. You go in, you start looking through these reviews, and you see people saying, this computer is a $2,000 computer that they're selling for 800. It's unbelievable, like best value you can get for your money, right? And it's just person after person just raving about what great quality this is for what the price is, right? Now, suddenly, psychologically, we're starting to stretch potentially what we're going to spend on our budget, right? We went in thinking we were going to spend 500, but now because we've looked at the social proof, we are like, maybe I should go ahead and come up with the extra 300 because I want a computer that's going to last. I want good quality for what I'm going to get, right? If I'm going to spend the money on it, I want a good return for it. And that's just the way we're wired as people. And so the exact same thing happens on your Upwork profile. So what happens here and why hourly versus flat fee is that one of the few places, especially as a beginner, before you have really built up your snowball effect and gotten that momentum, one of the few places that they're going to see social proof on your profile is in those first few jobs that you did, right? And as you're getting more and more of these jobs, this is going in a section on your profile that's highly visible to the client called your job history. And it's showing every job that you've done. It shows how much you charged. It shows how many hours you did on that job, what was the total amount you got for that contract. It shows the title and some details about that job, but then it also shows how many stars did you get? Did they leave you a written testimonial, right? So the difference between an hourly job versus a flat fee job is that a flat fee job is just going to show the flat fee. So if you go and you do a $100 flat fee job, that's going to show in your job history that you did a $100 flat fee job, but it gives no additional context for that client who's looking at it. They have no idea if that $100 job was a job that took you 10 minutes or took you 20 hours, right? There's no way for them in their brain to compare the work that they're getting ready to ask you to do or the rates that they're getting ready to pay to actually equate that to these flat fee jobs that are showing on your profile. But what they can instantly clock and understand is that when they look at your job profile and the newest jobs are always at the top, they're going to look at that first job and they're going to see, oh, this person paid them $55 an hour. They did, 20, we'll say 50 so I can do easier math in my head, $50 an hour. They did 20 hours on this job. They got paid $1,000 for this job, and they gave them 5 stars and they gave them all this glowing review. Look at the next job down below. Someone paid them $50 an hour. They did, again, 10 hours worth of work, right? $500 on the job. And then here's another glowing review. And so, because the way how I teach this is to walk up your rate quickly, you may have started at $15 an hour, but again, with every few jobs that you're getting, that rate is going up, that rate is going up, that rate is going up. And so your newest, most highest rate that you've charged will always be at the top of your job history. And that's going to help clients immediately feel more secure, just like that Google rating that has 5 stars with thousands of reviews with people raving, that even if that person was looking for someone maybe more at like $35 an hour, if they see that other people are hiring you at that rate, if other people are giving you great reviews, if people keep coming back and that your rate keeps climbing, that they see this history of this steady increase and that clients keep coming, right? And that you're getting more success, you're giving them all of those trust signals and all of that social proof that makes it much easier for them to say yes to working with you. That means a lot more psychologically to them that they can quickly understand your value. And I'm putting that in quotes because it's like your value to me is whatever you decide your value is. You get to charge whatever your rate is. But as far as convincing a customer to go ahead and hit that send contract to you at the rate that you want, you're going to get there much faster by building that social proof with the hourly rate showing I charge this amount of hours, this much per hour, and clients eagerly and happily hire me at that rate, and they're happy with the results that they're getting, right? So that is why we want to use that because we're building very visible compounding social proof on your profile. I'm just peeking here at my notes here real quick. Yeah. So again, one of the strategies that I cover in depth inside of 10 Days to Paid is I'm going to show you how you will walk that hourly rate up super quick. So even if you're starting at $15 an hour, within weeks to months, you will have that rate easily doubled and then even to 50 plus an hour, right? It's not going to take you years to walk it up. We're going to do it very quickly. But again, because when they're looking at your profile, this is going to again show them all those trust signals, and that is going to speak louder than anything you have in your portfolio. Or anything that you put inside your profile, they want to see that other people are saying, yes, we agree. This person's great at what they do. They're great to work at, and they're definitely worth what they're charging in their hourly fee. All right. So, to wrap this up, if the theme was not obvious, it's that you should be charging hourly as a beginning freelancer. So, if you've been debating how to do your pricing, unequivocally, I'm telling you, start with hourly. All right. Your goal is you're going to start low, you're going to build your profile fast, and then you're going to climb confidently, both in your rate and with the jobs that you're taking as you continue to grow out your profile and your success. And this, what we went through today, this is just one, I'm zooming in on just one tiny piece of the strategy that I teach inside of 10 Days to Paid. So again, it's a totally free course. It's over 12 hours worth of videos. It has lots of free tools, resources, swipes, literally everything you need to go from total beginner to a paid freelancer in 10 days or less, because I would love to help you land your very first freelancing job. Okay. So if that's of interest, the link is below to join the challenge. It's free, it's fast, and most importantly, it works. And I know it works because I used my 22-year-old Starbucks barista kiddo to be our guinea pig through the challenge. He followed it step by step exactly as I taught it on a brand new, never used before Upwork. He'd never had been an Upwork freelancer. So right now, here in 2025, he followed it from a brand new profile. And he earned $270, $275, landed multiple clients, got his rising talent designation. And so it proves that it works. So that is my hope for you as well. You'll get to see behind the scenes in his journey. But again, every week I will show up in your inbox as part of my free community with these free trainings, my Tuesday trainings. So if you found this helpful, if you're not currently in that Substack group for these free trainings, I'll have a link for that as well below. And otherwise, for the rest of you guys that are in the free beginner community, I will see you next Tuesday in your inbox. I hope this was helpful. If it was, please give it a like, a share, leave me a comment. I would really, really appreciate that. And I will see you guys all next Tuesday.